It's pumpkin recipe time again. When I cooked up my pumpkins, I ended up with 20 cups of pureed pumpkin. So I've got a lot of pumpkin recipes to come. But today I'm going to try a pumpkin coffee cake with a walnut streusel topping and a brown butter maple glaze. Lots of parts to this. Sounds really good. I've never made it before, but we're going to give it a try and see how it comes out. So all of the ingredients you need 1.5 cups of flour, 8 tablespoons of softened butter, so basically a stick of butter, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1/2 cup of sour cream, 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of the pumpkin puree, and 1 cup of the packed light brown sugar. For the streusel, the walnut streusel topping, this also gets incorporated into the middle of the coffee cake as well. You need 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, 6 tablespoons of the butter that's been softened, a cup of chopped walnuts, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and finally 1/3 cup of the flour. And then finally, for the brown buttered maple glaze, there is 4 tablespoons of melted butter on top of the stove. I also have 1 1/4 cups of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. First thing I'm going to do is the streusel topping, and the streusel does go into the center of this coffee cake as well. So I put the 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/3 cup of flour, the teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and the teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice into the dish and just kind of mixed it all together. And now I just stuck the 6 tablespoons of the softened butter in here, and just kind of using a fork, you want to kind of go through it, get it all nice and crumbly. And then once you've done that, you can mix in all of the walnuts, the 1 cup of walnuts. This is what the streusel looks like after I've mixed all the ingredients together. The walnuts have been mixed in, and it's just going to be put to the side while we make the cake batter. For the coffee cake batter, the first thing you want to do is combine some of the dry ingredients. So this was the 1.5 cups of flour. I added to it the 2 teaspoons of baking powder, the 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, the 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and the 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, and just kind of mixed it all together. In this other bowl, I have combined the brown sugar and the stick of the softened butter. You just kind of mix it until it's all incorporated in. Once that's been mixed together, the next thing you want to do is add in the eggs. It does suggest 1 egg at a time, so you kind of add 1 egg in and just kind of mix it in. It's going to be a little wet at first, but once we add in all the other ingredients, it's all going to come together. So you do 1 egg, and then we'll go on to the second one. I completely mixed in both of the eggs. I added in the sour cream, and I'm also going to add in the pumpkin puree and mix all that together. And then finally, the last step is you're going to mix in the dry ingredients from the other bowl. You can cook this cake in a 9-inch springform pan or a 9-inch cake pan. I'm using the springform pan. All I did was I sprayed it down with some cooking spray, and I put a little bit of flour around the edges. I kind of just shook it around and tapped the sides to get it all over, and just threw out the extra flour, just so that it doesn't stick on the sides. So the first thing that you want to do is put half the batter across the bottom of your pan. Half the batter has been poured into the bottom, and I sprinkled over half of the streusel. The next step, they say, is to just dollop the rest of the batter, and then you'll sprinkle the rest of the streusel on top. Okay, I dolloped it across the top, and basically I think the reason that you're doing that is because you don't want to push all the streusel out. You want to kind of keep it in the center. But I am kind of taking the spatula and just flattening it out, trying to cover all the middle layer so that I could put the top layer on it. I finished the cake by putting the rest of the streusel topping across the top. And now this is going to go into the oven at 350 degrees for about 50 minutes or so, or until a toothpick comes out clean. And while this is baking, I'm going to make the brown buttered maple glaze. For the glaze, the first thing I did is I cooked the butter on the stove. It was medium heat. And they said that you just stir it until it starts to foam and turn brown. I've never made brown butter before, so I hope this is right, but it is brown and it was foaming, so I think that's how it should look. We'll see how it tastes in the end. And all the other ingredients, the powdered sugar, the maple syrup, and the vanilla have been put into the bowl. Okay, the glaze has been mixed. It is a little thick, but if you put it in the microwave for a couple seconds before you need to drizzle it over the cake, it should be perfect. So we just took it out of the oven maybe about 10-15 minutes ago. It smells amazing. We're letting it cool off a little bit, but it smells really good. I did drizzle the glaze on top. There is a ton of glaze left over. So I don't know how much glaze they wanted you to use. I suppose you can use more. It looks like I have enough on there. So you might want to just do half of that glaze recipe. I guess I'll save it and see if I can figure out something else to do with it, because it's so much, it's almost the whole amount that's still left over. Okay, taste test time. I tried the cake. I think it's really, really good. It's very, very light and fluffy. It's not very dense at all. The center streusel, not that much. There's not that much in there. I would almost say to double it. Put more in the center, maybe make a little bit extra streusel and less of the glaze on the top. It's a very mild pumpkin flavor, but overall it's a good cake. I definitely would make it again. It's just a nice coffee cake. So let's see what Sean has to say as well.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
That's what you said on the last thing.
Well, I like it. What do you want me to say? I think it needs powdered sugar though. That's what I think. I think no crumb cake should have, you know, no powdered sugar on it.
I'll put some on it and try it and see if you think it's better. Okay, powdered sugar has been added, so let's see what you think now. If you like it better with the powdered sugar.
Just lost half of it. Don't start laughing again. Yeah, I like it better with the powdered sugar. I think it adds more of a kick to it because it's already kind of sweet with the glaze, but the extra powdered sugar on there makes it even better.
Okay, so I guess if you like it very sweet, then powdered sugar is definitely a possibility as well. So again, it's a really good cake. It is nice and light and fluffy. The glaze, I actually think I might have added a little bit more glaze next time. I didn't taste too much of the glaze, so I may add a little bit more, but it still is more than you need. And the pumpkin flavor is pretty mild, so if you're looking for a very strong pumpkin flavor, you might want to add a little bit more of the pumpkin spice as well. But definitely a good cake. I would make it again. I think it's good, and it smells amazing in here.